How I feel when the collab was revealed.
You know, as much as I understand BANCHOU is a company that loves to make IPs and let it float for its own, and Kidani declare his care towards Vanguard.
You serious?
I don't get why the collab with Vanguard are some of the weirdest I have ever seen. I mean, there are some that are generally obvious one, like Bang Dreams and Token Ranbu, which is the BANCHOU IP as well. And then you have some, I would call pretty nice collab like Gotobun, Shaman King, or even Record Ragnarok, even if I did not watch the anime.
He tipped the scales for me was the V-Spo collab.
Then we have the weird one, the one that I feel some Western audience might know this, some people might not, but things like Mushi King are generally quite rare, but in the Asian side of life, you might have seen it before in an arcade machine. So I don't understand why they have to pick Love and Berry dress up and dance as a collab. And today I'm gonna not just be talking about the card themselves and how good they are, but also just look into a little bit of research, like just a tiny bit, to see why exactly we got this collab. And for those who don't care about the research, I'll leave the time code somewhere down in the pinned comments or description so that you can just skip to the card directly. But just humor me just a little bit as we can finally understand why this is a collab for Vanguard. So weird, man. Anyway, based on what Wiki said about the game, it is an arcade game with collectible card system from There you are. It is technically a Sega collab. Essentially why it was being collab at all was because it is actually popular towards female demographic a lot, as they gained a lot of traction back in 2005 to 2006. But what made me surprised when I look into this is that this thing has a bloody full-blown anime
movie.
Nani?
Okay, enough of a non-Vanguard related research, let's talk about the cards, as I feel a lot of people are definitely confused with what this particular deck is all about. So just to make it as simple as I can, there are two groups of cards in this archetype, which are Fashionable Witch, which are the units, and the Fashionable Magic, which are the set order, which most of them do not have any additional skill except for one card.
Interesting.
So the way these two groups of cards interact with each other is that based on how many different set order you have on your order zone that has the same name as mentioned on the Fashionable Witch unit itself, the witches get additional skill, and each of them has 3 different unique set orders that correlate to their skill.
That doesn't sound so bad.
That is essentially pretty much how the decks actually works.
Also,
The Fashionable Witch has a common skill where constant. If your Vanguard is the Fashionable Witch with a specific name, this card get all the following based on how many different Fashion Magic cards in your order zone match this card. I will not be talking about this section of the skill because it's more or less the same for every single unit under the specific name. Love and Berry. Yes, this is 2 different new right lines and both of them are very
similar.
But before we get into anything, you might notice something here. Doesn't that mean you have to make sure that only a few of those units will get their full effects because of the fact that you can only play 1 order per turn?
You suck.
Well, there is a perfect solution to that, and that comes in the form of Crest. But before that, we have to talk about a card that helps you to get that Crest to begin with, the grade 0 of the deck, Fashionable Witch, Berry, and Love. These are the 2 different cards, essentially has the same skill, where when this unit is rolled upon by a grade 1 Fashionable Witch with Love or Berry cards in the name, depending on which one you use, if that unit was placed from the right deck, you get Love and Berry Fashionable Witch Machine Crest and Energy Charge 3. This just is a reference to another arcade machine from the past, so yeah. And yes, this is a unique grade 0 that will not give you additional draw, so a little bit check on that.
Why are you like this?
But let's talk about the main bread and butter of the deck, the Crest. This Crest has 4 skills like most of the strike deck, but has a very long effect, so bear with me for this one. First, you cannot write cards other than Fashionable Witch units, obviously, and then auto when this Crest is put during your right phase or when your Vanguard is placed during your right phase, choose up to 1 Fashionable Magic card from your drop and put it into the order zone. Then act once per turn Energy Blast 3, perform one of the following. Look at top 7 card of your deck, choose any number of Fashion Magic card with different grade from among them and put them into order zone and shuffle your deck. Or choose a card from your damage zone and put it into your drop and put the top card of your deck into damage zone face down. If the card you put into drop by this effect is a fashionable magic card, you may put that card into the order zone. And then last skill, at the beginning of your battle phase, Soul Blast 2, choose up to 2 fashionable wish unit with different card name from each other from your drop and perform. If your order zone has 2 or more different fashion magic card written on that card, call that card to Reka Circle for each of them.
That escalated quickly.
Okay, so this is a very long effect, so let's talk through one by one. The second skill is generally a good way for you to make use of the fashionable magic card that unfortunately comes into your hand. Do note that you can actually discard the grade 3 version of the fashionable magic card to actually trigger the skill, as it just says one fashionable magic card, so it is a good way to get rid of the card that you cannot play in the earlier part of the game, while also helping to set up for later part of your game.
Synergy.
The third skill, the energy blast skill, is the most important one of them all because this is the best way to get the most amount of fashionable magic card in one single go. The only issue with this skill is obviously it is RNG, but if you win your RNG, the setup is pretty damn scary considering the last skill. The alternate skill for the damage interaction is just mostly for situation where you unfortunately has the magic card sent to your damage zone and you need those to unlock maybe the final part of the unit skill. And then the last skill is obviously a very strong rush skill as long as you are able to set up early.
Sounds fair.
But how good are the fashionable witches units? Well, to put it simply, they do just enough job to not be a burden.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Where both of the grade 1 has the same skill, where if you have one or more different cards, when this unit boosted, choose up to 1 card from your drop and put it into your soul. Get additional 5k if you have 2 or more different cards based on the condition. And last but not least, at the end of the battle, this unit boosted, if you did not counter charge this turn, counter charge 1 if you have all 3 fashionable magic cards that is correlated to them.
Why, that's very good.
This will come in extremely handy, and based on my testing, soul is one of the most crucial resources of this deck, and being able to get 3 of the grade 1s in the back row will be very crucial, not just for the soul but also that 13k plus the CC, which is very helpful. And this is where both Love and Barry starts to see a difference in terms of playstyle, where Love is a little bit more offensive, as we can see with 2 of the grade 2 version that we see for Love, Disco Love and Lovely Idol Love. For Disco Love, this unit is a little bit like an OTT flashback, where if you have one or more different card, when this unit attack, look at top card of your deck and put it to the top or bottom of your deck, just like any other OTT cards. And then if you have 2 or more, this get plus 5, and if you have 3 or more, this unit cannot be chosen by your opponent card effect and get additional 5k shield.
It's amazing.
Simple but very effective, and the disgusting part of this card is that it can be used as early as turn 2.
Genuinely disgusting.
Meanwhile, the other card, Lovely Idol Love, is alright, I guess. I mean, it is a card that helps you to build your board, where if you have 1 or more different cards, when placed on Vanguard or Reka Circle, counter blast 1. Look at top 3 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 card among them, call it to Reka Circle, and put the rest on the bottom of the deck in any order. And then, if you have 2 or more different cards, you can get 5k, and if you have 3 or more different cards, when this unit attack a Vanguard, you can Soul Blast 1 to retire a rear guard.
I mean, it's alright, like...
Nothing too crazy here, simple enough and effective enough, especially considering Love playstyle is very aggro-like, as we have Sparkling Ball Love. This unit also more or less have the same skill condition as any other fashionable wish, as I mentioned before, where 1 or more different card, this get a drive, 2 or more different card, this get additional 5k that is active during opponent turn as well, and if you have 3 or more different card at the end of battle, this unit attack, counter blast 1, stand your entire front row rear guards. If your opponent Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, those unit also gets additional 10k.
Am I a joke to you?
This unit doesn't care if your opponent is grade 3 or not. The only thing this card care about your opponent is when you want to get additional 10k to those restand units, which is kind of frustrating, at least in my opinion, because a lot of Keter deck does have multi-attack, but none do as good of a job as this thing. And then we have Barry, and I can safely say Barry is a little bit different from Love in the sense that her playstyle seems to be a little bit more defensive, where she requires you to have all of the pieces of fashionable magic as soon as possible, which allow her to trigger some of her strongest skill. As we can see with Fashion Street Berry,
It never ends.
if you have one more different card when it's in the attack, counter blast one, draw a card, 2 more different card, also get 5k, and 3 or more different card when it's in the attack of grade 3 or greater unit, you can soul blast one and get 10k until end of that battle.
That's a bit sassy.
Nothing too crazy here. This is just a slightly weaker version of Nobia that essentially is related to one archetype only.
That's it?
And then we have Seaside Summer Berry. The more I look at this card, the more I feel disturbed, I'm not gonna lie. So this card has same condition, where 1 or more different card, this unit get additional 5k shield, and hence my set on the little bit more defensive playstyle. And then 2 or more different card, this get 5k, 3 or more different card, when this unit attacks, you can soul blast one until end of that battle. If your opponent would call a card from hand to card circle, they must call 2 or more at the same time. It is very cheap, and it is actually pretty damn strong when it comes to the skill itself. The only thing that I feel a little bit disturbed by is the fact that the guard restrict doesn't really matter that much, considering how high the power can get, especially considering we have the grade 3 of this deck, Sparkling Ball Berry, which also same condition. With 1 or more different card at the end of the battle this attack, you can counter blast one, choose one fashionable wish with berry with different card name from this unit, write it as stand. At the end of that turn, choose up to 1 Sparkling Ball Berry from your soul, write it as rest, and then 2 or more card, you get 5k which active during opponent turn as well. And then 3 or more different cards at the beginning of your battle phase of your front row get additional 5k until end of turn. This skill is attached to the player, similar to Tamayura in that sense. So you can kind of see why I say that this is a little bit more defensive, because its power is technically weaker when you are not fulfilling all the fashionable magic cards, but once you manage to fulfill, it has a much better aggro than Love. So depend on which style you want, both are more or less work the way you needed it to be. Also, something I noticed after playtesting it, her first skill technically doesn't force you to ride back into Sparkling Ball, which means that you technically can strike lock your opponent's strike completely, and the deck had just enough offensive power to actually do this without the need of Persona riding at all. But we do have one more card to talk about, and in my opinion is the card that make this deck really busted, and that's Magical Time Plus. This is also a fashionable magic card, so it can be triggered by the Crest effect, but the main thing about this card is its X skill. Counterblast 1, bind this card, search your deck or drop for up to 1 fashionable wish, review it and put it into your hand and shuffle the deck. Then search your deck or drop for up to 1 fashionable magic card written on the review card and put it into your order zone. If you manage to search your deck, you have to shuffle it.
Why are you like this?
This, in my opinion, is the most important key part of the deck, and I would say where most of your counterblast gonna go to aside from the Vanguard, because this helps you to set up. The main problem with Wish in general is that if you want to play it fully, you need to have 3 different fashionable magic cards that have a same name as the one that is mentioned on the card itself. So this card helps you to quickly fill up any missing one. But how good are these decks? Interestingly enough, despite having 2 completely different offensive playstyle, both Love and Berry does have very similar strength and weaknesses. And the most obvious one is of course the aggro. Both of the decks can aggro extremely well thanks to the fashionable Wish unique ability to gain a lot of skill as long as you have the right fashionable magic in the order zone. Unfortunately enough, the deck does make sure that you are able to build those set order quite quickly thanks to the Crest EB3 skill, as well as the second skill which allow you to use fashionable magic as a discard cost for the right deck. And come on man, this deck has literally one of the strongest filter I have seen in the game in a long while. Like Counterblast 1 for 2 filter is actually very good for a deck that focuses on compressing the deck as much as possible so that you can more or less just stacking triggers for days. And most important of all, the deck does have a decent board recovery thanks to the Crest last skill. However, the main issue with this deck is that fashionable magics. Fashionable magics are set orders, and each of the fashionable wish unit has 3 different unique fashionable magic. This leads to a problem where you are running in total of 16 set order in a deck, not only compromising your defense, but also all of the generics in Keter Sanctuary. Unless you are willing to reduce the number of fashionable wish you have in your deck, this deck is unable to fit in any generic light at all. And to make things worse, the deck does rely on a lot of soul. So if you cannot get the grade 1 soul charge fast enough, the deck does lose a lot of pressure. But that's Love and Berry, the weirdest collab that Vanguard ever had ever since I started Vanguard more than a decade ago. But what do you guys think? Do leave down in the comments below if there is a better arcade game from Sega that you guys think should have been a part of a collab. Project Diva. And that's all I have for today. Take care of yourself, don't forget to clap that stuff and become a member for some cool perks. And this is Mac Mechanic signing out.
Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom.